All right. Thanks for joining me for this short notice online lesson on Zoom. So today I had a observation to do on the Alpharetta campus, and for some reason, somebody thought that I taught classes over here, so it would be easy for me to do an observation over here. But that's not. It wasn't true. But I was still scheduled to do it, so I had to come out here. And yeah, it takes a while to get here, so I wasn't going to make it back on time. So we're doing an online lesson. All right, so if you have any questions at any point, you can type them into the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Today's lesson is about the entire no-no list. So we talked about some of the no-nos and went over some of the things on the no-no list, but I'm going to give you the rest of the no-no list and also review some of the things that we went over already. So, the no-no list. So already we have that you are not allowed to say, I think. Let me make this bigger. You're not allowed to say, I think, I feel, I believe, or you're not allowed to say, in my opinion. And that's because everything you write in your paper is already what you think, what you feel, and in your opinion. And if you are writing your paper as if it's truth, you don't have to say these things. Just write it like it's truth. You are not allowed to write in conclusion to start your conclusion paragraph. Just reword your thesis. That always works. Not allowed to say in today's society. That's because in today's society is so vague that you need to specify exactly who you're talking about. What cross-section of the population are you talking about? There are no one-sentence paragraphs. And this goes even for your journals. If there's a one-sentence paragraph, you're not going to get 100. The reason for this is because philosophically, when we write, a sentence is a thought and a paragraph is an idea. But an idea is a group of related thoughts when you're trying to express an idea. So if you just have one thought, then it doesn't deserve to be counted as an idea. If you just have one sentence, it does not deserve to be counted as a paragraph. So, and at any rate, when you're following a good structure, if it's a body paragraph, you have a topic sentence, and then after the topic sentence, you have support and details. And if there's another body paragraph after that, you have a transition sentence. So you have at least have at least 2 to 3 sentences in any paragraph. So no one sentence paragraphs. For the third paper, I want you to get it in your mind to write without contractions. And contractions are words like can't, don't, won't, I'll. It's when we take 2 words and we join them into one. Like can't comes from cannot, which is really one word. Don't comes from do not. Won't comes from will not. I'll comes from I will. So one of the benefits of avoiding contractions is your word count. When you're writing a formal essay and you definitely have a word count to make, your word count goes up when you don't combine words together into one word. So think about that, especially when you have papers where the word count is important to make. I made a habit out of not using contractions because I never liked writing long papers. So if I don't have contractions, I at least probably add like 50 more words to my paper. No informal spellings. These are things like through, ain't. This is one of our spelling words, but I've definitely seen people spell it like this. Probably instead of probably. And like you, those one letter fake words. Be careful with, don't do the little, well, don't use etc. If you have a list that you want to tell us about, then either tell us the whole list or say, make a category. Things like pears, apples, and strawberries for fruits where you eat the skin. You don't have to list every single fruit. You don't have to list 10 of them. You can just say things like blah, blah, blah. Don't randomly use the ampersand for and. And along with that, don't randomly use the circle A thing for at. Just write out the word. If it's a title or if it's a law firm, then use the ampersand. If you are doing somebody's Twitter handle or something like that, then use the at symbol. But don't just use it just because you want to not write out the word and at. All right, so this one is one that people tend to have a lot of problems with. So punctuation right outside of the quote mark, like this right here, is generally wrong. And it's usually when it's a period or a comma. Periods and commas are generally always going to go inside the quote mark. And that's as long as there's no citation with it. So if there's a citation, like he says, if there is a citation, then don't do it. Just making up stuff. And we'll say this was said by Smith. Then the end punctuation is going to go after the citation. The citation is still a part of the sentence. And of course, because it's in parentheses, it just means that we don't have to read that out loud, or we can skip over it. Now, periods and commas would generally go inside the quotation mark if there's no citation. A question mark and exclamation points are different. So if I'm asking a question and I asked, did she say outside of the quote marks? Now, because I'm asking the question and the person I'm quoting isn't asking the question, then that question mark has to go outside of those quote marks. Because if I put it inside the quote marks, I'm saying that that question is a part of her quote, and it's not because I'm asking the question, she's not. Now, if we said, she asked, is it outside of the quote marks? And since she's asking that question, we put the question mark inside the quote because the question is a part of her quote. To be. All right, we have the if then comma. So if you have an if then statement, if you start a sentence with if, then the comma is always going to be a comma in that kind of statement. And the comma would always go right before where the word then would be. So and I say then where then would be because the word then is optional. But the comma is not optional. You have to have the comma. So then is optional. The comma is mandatory. So for example, if I take a nap, I'll be up all night. So there I did not put the word then because then is optional, or you can put it there. So the word then is optional, but that comma must go there. And the if then statement seems to be the most popular correlative for that I see the mistake with. So just go with that one. So also on this list is when you are talking about a source, especially a source, do not use just the person's first name. So if you're talking about Bill Clinton, at any point in your paper, when you want to bring him up again, you would never say Bill says or William says, la la la. You always want to use at least the last name. So we can say Clinton states and blah, blah, blah. You can use the full name, Bill Clinton says, but we will never say Bill says. And this is one, it's a form of, it's just a form of respect for the people you are citing. And the only time you would put just the first name is if it's their stage name. For example, like Madonna. I don't even know Madonna's last name if I could put it there. But yeah, if it's a stage name, Madonna, Beyonce, even though I know Beyonce's last name now. Yeah, if it's a stage name, go ahead and put just the first name for the stage name. But for everybody else, at least the last name, and at most their title and first and last name. Couple more things. We have, I'm seeing the mistake of every day versus every day. Know the difference. If you have every day as 2 words, it's like saying every single day. If you can say every single day, then use the 2 words. But every day as 1 word is an adjective. So it describes something like an everyday activity or an everyday thing. So know those differences, because I will mark it off. I will mark it off. Just 1 point, but still. We talked about homonyms at one point. So just, don't confuse your theirs. I'll definitely mark that wrong. And another thing, this is the last one, the years. So if you're talking about a year and you want to say something like in the 1990s, and you want to put that S there, that's fine. But you must know when to put the S and when to put the apostrophe S. So if we're just saying in the 1990s, and we're just saying in the years between 1990 and 1999, then it's just going to be S, 1990 S, 1990s. But if there is a if that year is a possessive, and we want to say the 1990s fashion trends posted extra baggy wear, then is that the right baggy? I'm not sure. So this is saying that the fashion trends of the 1990s, so it belongs to the 1990s. But if we just say in the 1990s, comma, fashion was more baggy. I used other baggy this time than today's wear. Then there won't be an apostrophe S. So the apostrophe S is still possessive when we're talking about years. So don't put it for every S every year that you're talking about. If you're talking about like a decade or something. All right, and this is the full no list. If any of these are in our final paper, then I'll take a point off. But still have the list to with you to check things over with. Now, this list is located in the course and assignment outline, which is on Blackboard, and the syllabus. It's in the Get Started, then the syllabus folder, then the fourth file down, which is the course and assignment outline. And it's down there in that document. So yeah, the full no list. Know it, love it, use it. Any questions? If you have a question, just unmute yourself. You can ask it, or you can type it into the chat if you don't want to speak out loud. No? Nothing? All right, cool. Well, I'll post this. Oh, here we go. I see one. Do we need to turn the 2 rough drafts in today? Why 2 rough drafts? Something maybe do today. I know I wouldn't have put to turn in 2 rough drafts on the board though for homework. Oh, pre-writes. Yeah, I think I have to make a submission so I could see your pre-writes. I'll put that in the announcement and make a submission for it. And if you wrote it on paper, just take a picture and submit it in there so I just want to see them at the very least. See them and give you a little bit of feedback for those pre-writes. Yep, if it was due today. Thanks for asking. All right, I'll post this video and submission for the pre-writes and anything else I have to tell you in the announcements. Thanks for joining. So I wasn't talking to myself for these 25 minutes. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email. I'm staying here at the Alpharetta campus so I can do everybody's papers and stuff without distraction, since no one knows me here. All right, thanks for joining, and see you next time.